Okay. How's everyone doing? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hope you guys are doing well. This is the Lighthouse tutorial on how to make millions with nothing with just a sniper rifle and a backpack. This is a route that I've been doing since the wipe has basically happened. It's a really easy route as well once you kind of learn it, and you can make anywhere from 250k per raid all the way to a couple million. It really depends on how lucky you get. A couple prerequisites that I recommend doing is before you start this, if you can, get yourself the Marin car trunk key as well as the Rogue USEC stash key. This key I'm sure you can find as a scav, or you can do a bar trade or whichever, but the Mercedes key is definitely very, very nice to have because of the fact that the lot of stuff that's in the trunk, I've seen anywhere from 2 bitcoins to ACEs to signal transmitters to, vertexes, VPXs, etc. Lots of good stuff in this car. And of course, the stash has 3 weapon boxes as well you can loot. Okay, so a couple things you need to know. Well, this is a route that I usually like to take when I do Lighthouse. So depending on where I spawn, there's going to be a few things I need to make sure that you are aware of. So, as you can see here on the map, you can get this particular map as well on the Wikipedia. So if you just Google Escape from Kharkov Wikipedia, you'll be able to find the actual spawn points. Now, there is quite a lot of spawns in here, and a few things that I usually like to do whenever I actually do this particular route is if depending on if I was spawn back here, over here this way, right? I always stop at this bus, and there's gonna be a few things that you definitely want to look out for as you loot Lighthouse. Is these special little boxes. These boxes here are these kind of like broken kind of crates that are on the road or inside the water treatment area as well. And these things are quite special because they spawn things like bitcoins to VPXs to vertexes to mule sims to a lot of different things. So you definitely want to be able to look at these boxes every now and then, and there's quite a lot of boxes of these ones you want to look at as you do this particular route. And so generally what I do is, depending on where I spawn, I would generally like to go here first, go along this road, loot these particular boxes over here, and then go towards Mercedes car over here, and then make my way to the water treatment area. Once I'm in the water treatment area, there's a few things I need to be aware of. There is a total of 16 rogues that are in the water treatment area. You have, of course, the 2 MGs, or the 1 MG over here. You have the 1 GLer over here. These guys point this way. All right, you're gonna have 3 rogues that are usually around the helicopter pit, so either over here like this, or inside the water, inside the helicopter pit, or in the back there as well. And then you're gonna have 4 rogues that are on the ground as well, that are usually located anywhere between building 2. So in this case, I'm gonna quickly label this as building 3, building 2, building 1. And so in this case, these rogues here can be anywhere from the outside, can be anywhere along this part as well, or it could be inside, or it could be the top part of the parking lot. Then you're gonna have 3 rogues that are on top of building 2. 1 is over here, 1 is on the GL over here, 1 is on the MG over here. They point this way, the GL points this way, as well as the MG points this way. Then on top of building 3, you're going to have an MG over there that points this way, and then usually have a rogue that kind of like wanders around top of building 3. And then on top of building 1, you're going to have MG that faces this way, and then you're going to have an MG that faces this way. Now sometimes what happens is, depending on if you kill the guy on top of building 1, the other rogue might actually go and investigate and see what's going on, or might just go back to his post. It really depends on what the actual rogue path is doing RNG wise, etc. Okay, so like I said, there's 16 rogues total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, okay. Now, the route that I like to take whenever I'm in the water treatment facility is, first of all, I would kill these 2 rogues first, right off the bat, and they're really easy to kill, as well as I will loot them before I even do anything else because of the loot that they have, usually either from Gen 4 armor to, you know, anything can be really good. And so what I first like to do is I go here this way. There's a box I like to loot first before I loot the rogues, and then I go towards here. I loot this area here. I go this way. I loot this medical tent as well as little boxes here. I go this way here. Inside this particular area has 4 weapon boxes you can loot, 3 or 4. I think it's 4, as well as here where there's another couple good items here. And if I was basically, depending on if I see the rogues here or not, I would either loot the tower or not, but I'll explain that as I go along this route. And then I'll come back here and loot these 2 buildings, and then come back here once I'm done towards building 1. I would loot this particular stash. There's another special box here that you can loot, another special box here to loot, and then go through building 1 and then loot this particular box here, and then make my way towards extract. Now, a couple of things as well you need to be aware of. Depending on where you spawn on the map, you might actually not get the northern checkpoint extraction, which is okay, because you basically can either take the train extraction, which is kind of risky because there might be scab players as well that are potentially going to take that extraction as well sometimes, and other PMCs, or you can make your way. So what I usually like to do is I go this way, and if I don't have northern extraction, I'll still loot this warehouse here. I go back of this particular area, go towards here, and then I would jump the fence over here, try to take this extraction. In this case, this extraction here is the car extract, where if you have negative fence threat, you need to make sure you bring more than 5,000 rubles. And if that's not available, then I'll just make my way past the mountains back to the path to shoreline. This here usually takes about 5 or so minutes, depending on how much endurance you have and all that stuff. But it's pretty fast, pretty quick. Like if you're from over here, this is more like 7 minutes or so, etc., etc. Okay. Yeah, a couple of things you need to know is I did this at nighttime. So the reason why I did this at nighttime is because when the rogues spot you, they can basically shoot you and laser beam you from over 300 meters. Even if they have crap ammo like 855, they will still basically kill you if you do this during the day. And so this is why I recommend doing this at night, because what happens is the range vision only becomes less than 100 meters or so. And so when I do this particular route, I really just kill 5 rogues in total, and that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, or sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Like, that's it. I don't kill any other rogues. I don't need to kill any rogues because they don't see me. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you this particular route that I do. And you definitely want to pay attention as to which particular boxes I like to loot. Once again, I've been doing this quite a lot. I've been doing this since the actual wipe has come out. All I bring is just a backpack and like any kind of sniper rifle. As long as your sniper rifle is decent accuracy as far as MOA is concerned, anything less than 2 MOA is good, because when the shots that I usually like to take, they're over like about 150 to 200 meters. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start off by, in this case, I spawned over here. So once again, I checked this particular box here. Nothing right now, that's okay. And just to save time, I'm going to pop an SJ6. Now, this is what I recommend bringing as well. A serve kit, a quick heal, as well as an injector's case, if you can get yourself one. I would basically bring these particular items only, and of course my sick case of money and my Mercedes key and the stash key. So once I check that particular bus, I then go this way towards these 4 boxes here. And these 4 boxes are quite good in loot because depending on what spawns in it, you can potentially get anything from a water filter to fuel to the military corrugated tubes, etc. And so I generally like to come here because usually it's pretty good loot. Nothing here so far, that's okay. And then come along this way. And when you do this at nighttime, generally speaking, you don't really see many other players. And I'll definitely be doing this again with the rogues on at offline mode, just to show you what the route that I take by killing the rogues in the process as well, and doing this at nighttime. And there's a couple tips I can show you as well to help you be able to see a bit better in the dark. So, box here that you want to loot as well. Once again, these particular box, you can see here that there's sometimes good items, sometimes not good items. You have the plane tag over there. I kind of skip this until I loot the Mercedes box, the Mercedes car first. And the Mercedes car, like I said, is a very good key to have because of the loot that spawns in it. Just be careful. There has been a lot of people lately that just has been kind of camping the bushes because depending on where they spawn and waiting for actual players to open this particular car. And so yeah, there you go. You got a roller now. All right. And I come back this way once I'm done that. And depending on if there's shots or not, I generally either go straight towards the water treatment area or I take a look at these items here. Because like I said, fuel, depending on what kind of fuel you find, can be anywhere from like 180k or so. You have a couple items here that can loot. Check the top of the box. You have this particular item here. Pretty bad RNG in this offline mode. That's okay though. But generally speaking, you should see like pliers and other stuff you can loot on top of these boxes. Now, another route that sometimes I like to take is I would go along the beach area as well, depending on if this was like if I hear shots here, or depending on where I spawn as well. I might just go this way along the beach shoreline. So, anyways, once that's done, what I would do is I would go over here, go on top of this particular box, and I would range this for 200 meters. Now, generally speaking, this particular rogue here should always be on the MG. If he's not on the MG, he's either dead or he's going to be on the left side of this Connex, which is right around here. So it really depends on if there's anyone that spawned ahead of you, if they're doing the same route you are. But you're just going to be noticed that if this is 200 meters, you should be able to just go head eyes and boom, dead. And then what I do then is I go in here. Sometimes there's good items here, sometimes there's not. In this case, pliers, good for the trade for the Altons. I go along this path here into the trees. I do not try to loot this particular box, all right? I do not go anywhere here because what happens is if you're a bear, rogues will shoot you on sight. If you're a USEC and you've done this path recently, if you killed a USEC rogue recently, they will shoot you. And so guess what? When you try to go to this particular box, look at that MG. He has clear line of sight on you and he will basically end you. So once again, what I do is I go along this particular tree path. Once I go along this tree path here, I go up this particular rock passage. And one thing you need to look for when I do this particular peak, if the rogue is on top of this MG here, as long as you don't peek all the way out like this and just give yourself some room here to peek, the rogue actually cannot see you. So that's a neat little trick for you. And sometimes is the rogue might not be on the actual MG either. If he's not, he's going to be actually right below it. And so hopefully in offline mode with the rogues on, you'll be able to see that sometimes either on there or on here. So once I kill this particular rogue, I would then range again for 200 meters. I would go on top of this rock, and usually what I like to do is I angle myself right here and then zoom in for 200 meters, because the reason why is you see these trees right here. When it's pitch dark, I'm actually using the background to help me see where the rogue is. And so when you're like right over here, sometimes what happens is the rogue is actually behind, the trees are behind the rogue, and so it's hard to see. Whereas if you were on this little like dip here, and then you zoom in again, you'll have a better line of sight. And once again, I'll show you what I mean by that when we do it again in offline mode. So with the rogues on. So once I kill these two rogues, the left and the right. One's an MG, one's a GL. I don't actually go to the rogue to the right first. I always go to the rogue to the left first. Now, a couple of things you want to do as well is you want to study the map to see where the landmines are. Anything that's in the dotted red, filled red, those are landmines. So for example, right over here, never cross into this particular path. Never cross where there's actual signs right there. But once you kind of study where the landmines are, you're kind of safe, and you kind of like know where they are, and you don't ever step on them again. So once again, I go up this particular path. I go up this metal connex, these stairs. And first of all, what I do is before I even loot any of the rogues, all right, a couple things. One, before I even go up sometimes, I would make sure that the teammate of the rogue that sits on top of tower 1, because like I say, see the orange arrow, sometimes he stays stations there, but sometimes once I kill this rogue, he actually mans the MG again. And so there has been times where I don't actually check, and boom, I'm dead, because I forgot that the other rogue sometimes likes to go on top of the MG placement as well, and when he does, you're basically dead. So once again, go up here. I check this particular box. So this particular box here can spawn anything from mules to bitcoins to tetrises, or not tetrises, to vertexes to military cables, etc. So this is a very, very nice box to loot first. And then I finally loot the rogues. So this particular rogue, I like to prone on the ground like this. And once again, I'll show you in more detail what I do once I turn on the rogues. So when it's a nighttime, you generally do not need to ever worry about any of the rogues on top of Tower 2, which is that one here, or Tower 3, or Building 3, which is over there. And if the rogues are in the helicopter pit, you don't have to worry about it. But anyways, what I do is I loot this particular jacket first, because, you know, sometimes you might get good keys, or might not get good keys, who knows. I go inside this particular connex to loot this weapons box, as well as some goodies on the table here. And you can get pretty good stuff, depending on RG, of course. You got a scope there you can loot. I'll just take it for now. I then go inside this connex, I crouch, I loot the medical box, I loot the 2 bags here, as well as another box that I like to loot. And because the loot spirit is pretty good, like I said, really depending on what, you know, you do. You loot this bag, you loot this particular box, you loot this particular box if you want. Then I would finally loot this particular rogue. But before I loot that rogue, once again, before I do that, of course, I double check the actual MG placement. I double check to see that there's no rogues in front of this tower, this watchtower. Because if they do, guess what's going to happen is, depending on the time of day, they might shoot you as you come up here, and even if you're prone right here, you're basically still dead. So just be careful about that. Then what I do after I loot those 2 rogues is I go over here to this particular toolbox. This particular toolbox, you're gonna notice has usually pretty good stuff here. So once again, vertexes to signal transmitters to military cables to bitcoins, etc. can spawn here. So I always look at this particular toolbox first, and then I look at the couch. I loot this particular box. I loot these shelves here, because sometimes pretty good items here as well. Anything like, sometimes like I see like rotors, the valve rotor that you need for the mechanic quest line. Then I come over here, and once again, in this particular box, you want to look for these particular boxes on this map. You're going to see sometimes same thing with a couple bitcoins, stuff like that in there. You got a couple mounts here that I can loot as well on this particular table. Then I would go towards this tent here. Same thing, top of this toolbox, bitcoins and military cables and stuff like that spawn. I'll loot the toolbox, and then I'll go to the medical tent. Once I go to the medical tent, a couple things. I loot this box. On this table here, you're gonna have meds as well as painkillers. Sometimes I spawn here. In case of bandage, I spawn there. And then here on this particular table, you actually want to use your perception, the little white dot as you hover over items. You see that? You want to use perception here, because sometimes what happens is there's actually bitcoins that are on this table that you cannot see, and so you have to make sure that you carefully pay attention and see this white dot there, and then of course take the bitcoin or whatever items are there. Then once again, once I do that, I would loot this particular box, because once again, bitcoin and signal transmitters, military cable, stuff like that spawns there. Right now, pretty bad RNG in this offline mode, but that's okay. Sometimes what I like to do is when I'm inside this medical tent, I would like to kill this particular rogue on top of Tower 2, which is on the GL, which faces this way, as you can see, right? And then I would come back here. And before I even kind of like go into this tent, sometimes what happens is the rogues will actually be in front of this section here, so I'm going to make sure that they're not there. And there's 1 box here you can loot, 2, 3, and 4, alright? Then I'll go into this metaconics. Money sometimes spawns in here. And then this box again, where you potentially have bitcoins and GP coins and, you know, military cables, ASAs, etc. That kind of stuff will spawn there. And then, if I'm courageous, you don't have to do this particular path if you don't want to. But what I like to do is sometimes, depending on, you know, if it's quiet or, you know, if there's not much thing for me to lose, a couple things I want to do. I would just do a quick peek, because what happens is in front of that orange little metal, I don't know what it's called, but sometimes the rogues like to sit there. So as you go up this particular metal staircase, you'll basically be dead before you even get to go up the stairs. So I do a quick little glance to make sure there's no rogues there. As I go up, there are bitcoins and pro kills and stuff like that that could spawn right here next to this blue bin, as well as a couple good particular weapon attachments you can find on top of this. Like I said, this is a really high risk that I don't usually like to do, depending on, you know, you don't have to do this either, but if you want to try to see if there's a Bitcoin or Tetris or whatever there, then by all means. A couple things you need to be aware about, though, of course, is if you do go up here, if the rogues are inside the helicopter pit, they can shoot you. Depending on time of the day, if it's not dark enough yet, the rogue on top of Tower 3 that wanders around can potentially shoot you. Over here on top of Tower 1, because like I said, there's the MG there. Sometimes what happens is the rogue that is over there likes to come around this way, and then he can shoot you from there. So high risk here, but you know, depends on what you have. If you don't have really good loot, then you definitely don't want to. If you have good loot, you definitely don't want to, you know, do this particular tower. So once that's done, I come back this way. And I go to these 2 buildings here. So these 2 buildings here are pretty special, because what happens is you're going to find tools here. And in finding tools, you're going to sometimes find ASAs and military cables and hoses as well. So in this case, right now, the RNG in this offline mode is really bad for some reason. But generally speaking, you should see a lot of items in here. Pliers to, like I said, ASAs to whichever. And then same thing. So this is why I make sure I kill the GL before I even, you know, approach these 2, because the GL will start shooting at you. The rogue with the GL will start shooting at you. So once again, I go into this particular building as well afterwards. Same thing. I look on the ground, I look on the shelves. ASAs could spawn. Then once I'm done these, I finally make my way back to building 1. Once I'm at building 1, there's a few things I do before I even enter. 1, I check this box here. Hey, there you go, signal transmitter. 2, before I even loot that sometimes, I'll look up to make sure that the teammate of the rogue that I killed isn't just kind of like wandering around, so sometimes I like to do that too. And so I'll loot this box. Remember this particular box that's like a broken kind of crate. There's a couple of food and water here they can usually loot. Then there's actually another little box over here on the corner that you can take a look as well. And of course, if you have the U6 stash key, you can unlock this particular Onyx here, where you have 3 weapon boxes, which isn't bad. Then I finally make my way into building 1. When you're inside building 1, there's a couple of things that I usually do. In this case, first of all, what I do is I always go on top of the right side here. I loot this weapon box, and then I go down here, and you want to be very careful when you loot this particular box, because bitcoins, iridium, signal transmitters, Tetrises, graphics cards even, bitcoins, etc. can spawn here. So you have to really use perception of your white dot again to kind of like look on the ground. And sometimes what happens is there's items that are actually inside this box you have to loot. So look on the ground here. And then go over along this particular path And same thing, you want to look on the ground because Tetrises, graphics cards, etc. could spawn in here, along the ground here. So you got to be very careful and look at it as you run around. So then what I do is I come up here into this particular room. This particular room also has the quest item for your quest. If you have the, I think it's one of the mechanic quest lines where the actual item is going to be right there. And so yeah, as you can see here, there's a round ply right there, but sometimes it's actually inside the shelf. So you got to make sure that you use your white perception dot to see if there's anything there. Then I come back this way, go along this metal pathway, and I'll be able to look over here for some more items. I go over here to look for some more items. Same thing, Tetrises, graphics cards, etc. can spawn on this walkway. So you just have to really be careful and look at it. And then I come back this way here. I look at this particular top of these items, where same thing, corrugated tubes to tank batteries could potentially spawn here, to all that kind of stuff. So a toolbox I like to loot. Then I go this way, I jump across, go to my right, and as you can see here, there's a couple computer parts. So graphics cards and Tetrises can spawn here as well. So look on the ground and then come back this way. I generally don't like to loot this particular area in this middle with all the machinery because I don't think there's anything that spawns there, but if there is, definitely let me know in the comments. If you come up here, you want to go into this room again. So yeah, same thing, you have tools and other things, so you want to check stuff that could spawn here. Check the table. I generally like to loot this here as well, and the dead body, sometimes there's loot that spawns here. And then what I do is I would go over here, check for ammo, because sometimes good ammo spawns here. Before even go outside, once again, make sure that the rogue 3 EXP for you to actually kill again. So you headshot that rogue. Check the right. Sometimes people like to camp on the right side. And there's another box you can loot over here. Now before I even touch this box again, this crate, I look up to make sure that the rogue is not off his MG, and then I look in here, and as you can see, there's a skull. So use your white perception dot to see if there's any items there. Then I come this way through the fence, and I would check the actual ambulance here. I would turn around, same thing, make sure that the rogue is not there. There is also another broken box right here. However, I've never seen actually anything spawn in here. So once again, if you see things that has spawned there, let me know. And then I make my way towards this upside down or flipped over truck. I turn around, as you can see, there's MG there. This is going to be easy headshot. If you're here, even if the rogue sees you, he doesn't actually have an angle on you. So this is a very easy kill right here. And then I would make my way towards the extract, but before I do that, I would skip Tower 2, because like I said, 4 rogues could be there. At nighttime, you're generally safe to go straight to extraction. I might try to make this quick since the timer is running out here. But in this particular warehouse, it's actually pretty nice loot as well, because same thing, you have boats which are worth 30 to 40k depending on time of day. You have the military corrugated tubes, etc. That can loot, and other stuff, metal parts, etc. So once I'm in this particular warehouse here, I go this way through the broken fence. Oh, the train just is about to leave. Toolbox here, a couple items you can loot. So definitely look on all the ground here, because you're gonna see a lot of items here that will potentially spawn. On top of this stuff would spawn items as well. On this desk here, SSDs, flash drives, intelligence can spawn. You have a jacket you can loot. You want to look in between these shelves again. So as you see, some items are here, some items are here. What is that? Oh, zipper lighter. Some items can spawn here, some items can spawn here. You want to look over here as well. Now this is a special toolbox, so the reason why I say it is this. Watch this. I'm gonna search this. I'm gonna take these items out, but there's actually another toolbox right underneath this toolbox. So there's actually 2 toolboxes here that you can loot, And so I'm guessing the developers accidentally copied and pasted twice, so man, who knows. But yeah, definitely two boxes you can loot. And once again, looking around for more items that could potentially spawn, field, bolts, etc. that will spawn here as well. Then, once you've done that, I generally like to loot this workbench over here, or table saw, or whatever we call this, because items can spawn here as well, as you can see. And last but not least, this last 2 box of loot before it goes straight to extraction. So, a couple of things. Like, as you can see here, the train's about to leave. The train's leaving already. You can potentially wait until the train comes and then leave if you do not have the northern checkpoint extraction. But what I like to do is, if let's say I didn't have the northern checkpoint extraction, I would always go this way to extract. And don't go past left because it's a sniper, obviously. And there's a reason why I go this way. Because what happens is, remember how there's this MG rogue here? This MG rogue here actually faces into this yard, this industrial zone. And so if you're in the middle, if you don't kill that rogue, chances are he's gonna kill you. And there's the MG there. So as long as you're back here, you're okay. And if you really want the EXP, you can just snipe him, you know. So there's a couple of things you can do here as well. Is this is one of the markers for locations for the marker for the fuel tank right there. And then of course over here as well, there's orange fuel tanks. Then I come this way. Sometimes fuel and stuff could spawn here as well, so you kind of like look out for them. This is generally safe because no one usually ever comes around here. Scavs do not come back here either. Scavs do sometimes roam around in the front of the train yard, as you can see, usually over here or so, around here. You should be able to hear them. And I generally go along this path. I don't think there's anything that spawns over here, but if there is, you know, let me know. Because I really take this path because, like I said, generally speaking, depending on where I spawn, especially at nighttime, there's a lot less PMCs, and so I usually always get the northern checkpoint extraction. And then what I do is I jump up here, and as you can see the taillights from the car extract. So there you go. There's the car extract you can take. Now a couple things you want to do as well is before you even go out, you can snipe this particular rogue here that faces that way. You don't really need to be concerned about the rogue on top of Tower 3 because usually one's on the MG, but if one is roaming, you can definitely see him. And before you even jump, like I said, you definitely want to look for the rogues over here because sometimes the 4 rogues are going to be outside in this particular parking lot too. And then just jump over and then make your way towards fence extract, or of course make your way back to past the shoreline. All right. You should be able to do this route depending on where you spawn within less than 15 or so minutes. Like, I can generally do this speed 1 rise 8 minutes, because one time I did spawn here before. I was killing these rogues. I just skipped the warehouse, but I did all this 8 minutes just north of the checkpoint extraction. So it's quite nice. The only time you don't actually get the northern checkpoint extraction is if you spawn in this particular area. But if you spawn over here, this way, you should be fine to get the northern checkpoint extraction. Okay, so we're going to do this again, but I'm going to turn the rogues on this time. You can definitely practice with this off rogues, or with the rogues, or without the rogues. Generally speaking, definitely want to do this a lot in offline mode, especially if you're not that, you know, good at PvP, etc. But once you kind of get the route down, you'll be good. Okay, welcome back. This is the offline mode tutorial part for the lighthouse. As you saw in the first part of where to loot, now I'm basically going to show you again how to do this with the rogues on an offline mode. One thing you need to do is, in order for you to practice this when you go offline, you need to make sure that you enable bosses. Enable bosses will then spawn the rogues. Enabling PvE is not enough. Rogues are actually considered bosses, and so you just have to remember to turn that on if you want to practice this route. As you know, in offline mode, you can do this multiple times as you want. You can fire a gazillion ammo and bring in all the gear, whatever. As long as it's offline mode, even if you die with it, you're fine. So, you know, it's always good to always practice before, you know, doing something like this. A quick note as well. So like I said before, what you definitely want to do is you want to make sure you know where the rogues are. So once again, there are 2 rogues up front that face this direction. Or actually, it's over here, actually. This one here and this one here. You're going to have the 2 rogues on the roofs. One's on the MG that faces this way. One's usually roaming around. You're going to have one on top of building 2. One over here, one over here. This one's a GL that faces this way. This one faces this way. This one faces this way. And then you're going to have 2 over here. One faces this way. One faces this way, but sometimes he likes to wander around as well. And then, of course, you have the 4 rogues, or the 3 rogues that are by the helicopter pit. And then you're going to have 4 rogues that are inside building 2, or over here in the parking lot, or over here in the parking lot, or sometimes even over here as well. So it really depends on RNG and where they spawn and where what their pathing is. Now, like I said before, there are a total of 16 rogues in the water treatment area. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay. However, in offline mode, there are actually maybe 2 to 4 additional that they have added in offline mode only, but are not actually on the online mode. So what I'm talking about is there are actually 2 rogues that are actually on building 1, and I'm only guessing there might actually be 2 rogues inside of building 3 as well. I've never confirmed this because I don't ever loot. I never done offline mode to building 3. All I know is that when you're doing this in offline mode, with rogues enabled, for some reason 2 extra rogues spawn inside of building 1 or around building 1. So you just have to be careful when you do this route now. And yeah, that's basically about it. And as I mentioned before, you want to make sure that your injector case kind of looks like this. In this case, this mule stem was gathered from alive, but I just never decided to get rid of it. So I usually bring 2 SJ6s, 2 Propitols, Morphines, Augustins, Melatonin, mule stems, ETG stems. You definitely want to have your Merlin card key if you have it, the stash, rogue use stash key, and some money. So depending on where you're going to extract, you might not get the northern checkpoint all the time, right? So you're either going to extract by the train or extract over by the car or go all the way back to past the shoreline, right? Okay, so here we go. Like I said, you definitely want to practice. You don't have to practice this much. You can just, you know, it's not that much risk. But if you do want to be, you know, someone that likes to practice, offline mode is the way to go. And so yeah, so you got 2 stems right off the bat, off the Mirren key, or Mercedes key, like they call it. I go this way. I either loot those items there, or, and this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the path that I take depending on, you know, like I said, if I heard shots or other people might be around and stuff like that. This way, this is the route that I would take. Okay. So, in this case, one quick thing as well. You notice that it is a bit dark. The moon is out, which is nice. However, what I still like to do is, because I have an NVIDIA graphics card, I would turn my contrast to about 67, 65, 68 or so, right around there. And I'll turn my gamma up to all the way to 2. And so now I can actually see even better. And this really helps when there's no moon out. So the moon turns randomly on and off, which is kind of weird, but that's okay. So what I like to do here is, as long as you're over here, and even if you killed the rogues beforehand, the rogue can't actually shoot this gun at you from here. And so once again, 200 meters. And then sometimes you should be able to see that rogue as well. Now, because sometimes what I like to do is I either like to kill him here before I actually engage, or I like to kill on the rock. The reason being is because, let's say there's someone else fighting. Sometimes what happens is rogue might get lucky and kill whoever else that's, you know, trying to do this route. So I generally like to leave him alone sometimes until I'm actually right over here. And once again, with this particular rock, you kind of want to you want to like want to jiggle peek in a way, but not really jiggle peek, but like you don't really want to expose your whole body like this, because when you step out even more, you would then get shot at. But if you would just like tiny stuff like this, right? Just give yourself like this. The rogue cannot see you for some reason, but if you step out even more, like to the actual railing, he will kill you. So once again, do that. Now, here's a quick tip for those of you who do not know. When you shoot your sniper rifle or any kind of bolt action rifle, if you actually hold the left click button, all right, and as you fire, you won't actually bolt your sniper rifle, and so that's quite a nice, so then you can tell if the person's dead or not. One quick thing is, when I'm on this particular rock here, I like to be at the angle like this, and then I like to actually kill this particular rogue at the top of tower 1 over here like this. The reason being is because I like to use the backdrop to see where his head is at. Because if I go over here more, the trees are behind him and it's hard to see. And so this is definitely helpful when the moon is not out. And so in this case, it's a simple 200 meters again. I'm going to hold my breath if you like. And then now, like I said, I'm holding down my left click button so then it doesn't bolt right away. Then when I release my left click, then it, bolts again. And so, like I said before, once I do that, there's a couple of things I need to make sure of. One, when I go over here, all right, to loot this Connex first, I want to double check to make sure that his teammate on top of Tower 1, or Building 1, or whatever you like to call it, didn't actually go on the MG or to investigate. Because sometimes, like I said, what happens is that this guy here, whenever this guy dies, he likes to kind of wander around sometimes. And so there has been instances where he basically goes on top of this, and I didn't realize it in time, and he basically kills me, right? So, gotta be aware, careful of that. And once again, I would loot this first because rollers, signal transmitters, cables, military cables, bitcoins, etc. could spawn in there, right? A couple things I want to do is I want to prone here first, like this. Loot this up here. Why do I have a phone call from that number? I don't even know anyone from that particular phone number area code that's just called me. All right. And yeah, so once again, if you want to double check, like give it a minute or so sometimes, but not really, 30 seconds or less, just so you can double check him here to make sure that his teammate didn't go there. One quick tip is you can definitely maybe try to hide behind this sometimes. I was able to kill him before like this, but then the more exposed you are, obviously, the more you're gonna die. So this is what I always do first. And once again, I will loot this particular jacket here, right? Loot inside the Connex, that kind of stuff. Because this is offline, I'm just gonna quickly hurry it up. But I was remember to loot this box here. Hopefully I find more than a packet because this is offline mode, and like I said, there are 2 rogues that are over there that are definitely gonna be a bit of a pain. So loot this. Now, once again, I like to do this in nighttime because the range of the actual rogues are a lot less. So what I mean by that is, normally the rogues can see you from everywhere, right? Like 200 meters plus, 300 meters plus. So as long as you're in nighttime like this, depending on the time of day, like the rogues can't really see you and their vision is like less than 100 meters or so. Now, before I loot this guy on top of this particular Connex, you have to remember that there's going to be 3 rogues that are usually by the compound, the helicopter right here, like I said. And so then what you want to do then is you want to make sure that they're not really like in the actual vicinity, because sometimes they're either inside the actual helicopter pit or over here sometimes, or over here. And so if they're over here in front, you got to make sure that they don't have a good line of sight on you, because if they are, when you go up here and try to prone and stuff, they will kill you. So you gotta be careful about that. You can double check the rounds here. In this case, this is PRS ammo, which is bad. If it was a green tips, then it'll be the BT rounds. And if it's blue tip, of course, then it'll be the good old the gold neck rounds. Okay, so once again, you also don't want to double check, of course, that, right, to make sure that they're not on there. Over here, check this toolbox again, check this here, because once again, Bitcoin and stuff can spawn here. You want to loot this particular box here. Wrench is not 15 gears, so loot this. Oh, this is definitely a good item to take. Loot these items here. Go around this way, loot this particular box here, because once again, Bitcoins will spawn in there. You want to definitely be on the lookout of these kind of boxes in this map. Look on the table, and then once again, loot this top of toolbox here for Bitcoin, signal transmitters, vertexes and stuff. Bolts are nice, nails are nice. And then from there, you can go ahead and start looting this. Now, as you come closer to this, you're gonna definitely notice, like I said, you're gonna be aware of a few things. One, the two rogues are usually around building 1. And 2, like I said, those helicopter rogues over there. Alright? So take a look at this table, because med supply spawn there again. You want to use perception to see if there's any kind of Bitcoins here with the white dot. Once you're in there, once you finish looking at that, you want to aim over here and kill this guy. That's on top of that one. Loot this, loot that. And make my way towards this box here. Check to see if there's a Bitcoin there or not. And in this case, like I said, you don't have to do this part because, you know, this is more danger for you. Because let's say, for example, it is nighttime. Because you're over here now with this light source, you can try to shoot out if you like. Rogues can actually see you now. The rogues are over here. So you definitely want to be careful about that. So yeah, you gotta shoot the light if you like. But they still might be able to see you. So just to be careful there. And so you want to loot these 4 boxes again, like I said. You want to go over here and look at this particular table. You want to look over here and look at the actual box here for the Bitcoin, signal transmitters again, etc. Now, if you really like, you can always go up here as well, like I said before, to just quickly glance. And before I even go up there, you know, I just want to do a quick check, make sure the rogues are not there. Like this, Bitcoin, etc., vertexes, and you know, Veritas picks, stuff goes on here. You want to loot this particular table. Now, I really don't recommend going up here unless you're really good at sniping rogues really quick off the bat. Because what happens is this rogue likes to come this way sometimes, right? As well as there's going to be rogues over here, right? The top of Tower 3 that can look at you. You can have the rogues over by the helicopter pit that can have an angle on you, right? People sniping from up there can look at you. So this is really just like a really quick boom, check the ceiling floor back there, check this, go back down. But even then, we do it this fast, you might die still, right? So just be careful about that. And so from there, like I said, now, because this is offline mode with bosses enabled, those 2 extra rogues like to spawn for some reason. And this route will obviously be a lot more different if the rogues were in online mode as well, but it's not. So once again, I like to loot this, check this particular room for, you know, military cables, ASAs, stuff like that gets spawned in here. I'm gonna have to be extra careful now looting Tower 1, just because, like I said, 2 rogues. You want to loot this particular room here as well. Same thing for ASAs and stuff like that get spawned in here. Alright. So now, either, like I said, the 2 rogues could be outside compound 1 or inside compound 1. So because this is offline mode 2, what you could do for now is just bring in heavier armor and stuff. But, oops, see, there we go. That's one. Not sure where the second one is. Probably inside. Because this is offline mode, you can definitely, like, bring in heavier armor for now, just to kind of protect yourself from these 2 rogues. But these are really, like I said, when you're offline mode, these are really the only two you have to worry about. Because what happens then is that the route that I do, you really only need to kill 5 rogues in total. 8 if you have to engage the ones in the middle, right? And once again, the 4 that I usually take care of would be, in this case, the front 2, right? The top 2 here, and this one here. That's usually what I do, and I don't really need to take care of anything else. When you do it during the day, obviously then you're gonna have to be worried more about these ones here and top of this one here, and you know, that kind of stuff. So just be careful. Loot this particular box again. This RNG is pretty bad in this offline mode for some reason. That's okay. You want to loot this particular box here for same thing, Bitcoins, Veritas picks, etc. This will be the stash key again. You want to double check. You're gonna have money, 3 boxes to loot as well. All right. So from there, now you fill those 2 rogues. You loot this box here. You want to make sure that you look at the floor here. Use the perception to see where the items are at, because sometimes what happens is you might not actually be able to see them, but using your white perception dot, you'll be able to tell that there is an item here, and either it's over here, underneath here, on top of this sometimes, or over here. In this case, I'm not really gonna spend too much time looking for this, but you kind of get the picture as to where they are. And so, you know, what's it? Bitcoins, ASAs, graphics cards, etc. can spawn here. You want to look on the floor again now for Tetrises, graphics cards, etc. That can spawn over here on the floor. If you had killed a rogue with a flashlight, that's definitely something you want to do. You want to look on the shelf here, because sometimes with items like this, you see how it's like underneath the actual shelf. So use your perception again to see where they're at. Go over here, graphics cards, etc. can spawn there too, Tetrises. You want to keep looking at the floor here. And first of all, come over to this again. Take a look at this, take a look at that. Again, aces and stuff like that can spawn on the ground here. Pretty bad RNG this time for this offline night, but that's okay. You can get the point as to what kind of loot spawns when you do this yourself. Alright? And take a look here, take a look here, take a look here as the actual toolbox. I jump across again, like so. I look on the ground for Tetrises and stuff like that could spawn. I come back up here. Once again, I don't know if anything spawns in this middle section. I've never really looked carefully, but if you did see some stuff, definitely put in the comments below. I come up here. Once again, Tetrises, graphics cards, stuff can spawn on the shelf. Meds can spawn over here. Go on, look over here as well, and down here as well. So be careful with that. Once you're done with that, go over here.
I see a bandit.
And in this case, that rogue sounds like it's on the MG, because ammo and stuff could spawn here as well. So you want to be careful about that. Make sure the rogue on top of tower 2, there's no, like, you can probably get a free kill, right? Because sometimes what happens is those rogues like to wander around. I check my right, because sometimes what happens is people like to camp over here as well. And before I loot this box, I double check to make sure that the rogue is definitely top of on the MG, because he will kill you if you were to loot this box before you even get a chance to shoot at him if you're not careful. And then from there, you know, you would take a look at this box to see if anything else is there. You can go towards the ambulance and turn around to make sure that he's not wandering around again, like I said. But what you want to do here is, once you're over at this turned over truck, you now have kind of like perfect vision on the guy, on the rogue on top. In this case, that's, I guess that's it. Nope, yeah, I guess I forgot to range my gun back to 50. But you definitely want to make sure your range is correct. So, oh, you can't tell because my turtle's in the way, but in this case, you know, make sure you range it back from 200 to 50. But looks like you just moved there. And you definitely want to kill him before you go towards extraction, because once again, this MG here faces this way. guess where the northern extraction is? Over here. He will have a clear line of sight from here to there. So if you don't kill him, and it's during the day or anything like that, he will kill you. So you gotta be careful about that. Okay. So from there, this is what I like to do now, is I go this way again. If you really want, and if the 4 rogues are over here, looks like they are, because I just saw his light and stuff, right? You can definitely try to kill these 4 rogues here, but just be careful, because, you know, if you do this, they will either try to engage you or that kind of stuff, right? But I generally like to ignore them. If I'm playing with other people, right, and more people need loot, and if they can't see you like this right now, it is, you know, kind of worth it to try to kill them just to get their loot. But for the purposes of this particular video, I'm just gonna ignore that, ignore this. There are definitely some good loot inside of Tower 2 as well, but the thing is this, I like to do this route in less than 15 minutes or so, because I want to be able to do this fast, effective, quick, and I don't really want much risk. And if you really want the XP, then yeah, go for those roads, right? But in this case here, I'll go up here, loot this particular warehouse again, like I said. Now, you have to be careful is sometimes the AI scavs like to come inside this warehouse when they do hear you inside, like here, as you can see. So as you loot this particular warehouse, once again, you have the 2 boxes. You want to look on the ground, you want to look over here. Sometimes these AI scavs like to come inside, and when they do, you just gotta make sure that you're prepared for that. Okay, so check that, check this. Really bad RNG in this offline raid for some reason, because usually there's a lot more items in this jacket. And when you do this run, you know, consistently, like, you know, a lot of times, like 8, 9, 10 times, right? Yeah, there might be 2 or 3 times that you might die to a rogue or a player, right? Because they were able to get that spawn first. And generally all the other times, you will make good money. Like, I always like to do this route, you know, off stream, just because it's a very easy route. It's a very stress-free route, and you're really not risking anything. Like, at most, you're risking about 100k or so, and that's really nothing. And the rewards is definitely, you know, really good. Remember, there's two boxes here, and so you definitely want to make sure that you are checking this, and then checking the bottom one as well, the ones on top. As you can see, more items here. And I just recently found out as well that there are 2 boxes over here, which is quite interesting. So I'm very curious as to if there are more 2 boxes on this map like this that are double stacked. And so as you can see here, I'm able to double search again and get this particular box as well. Okay, so hopefully that explains this tutorial well. In this case, like I said, you definitely want to do this offline mode with bosses or without bosses, up to you. And then once you're really comfortable trying it, you know, I really recommend doing this at nighttime. You can definitely see me doing this on the live stream quite a lot as well. And once again, I stream over at facebook.gg/FrozenCoTTon, right, and whatnot. I primarily do labs, but this is just a casual runner, so I like to do. And so from here, once I loot that, I'll go to another checkpoint, or I'll wait for the train. But you gotta be careful, because other PMCs and scavs players might actually take the train with you. I generally go around this way. Oh, actually, I'll show you the route that I take if I was to go to the car extraction. Once again, I go this way because I don't ever cross the middle here, because of this particular MG here. This particular guy rogue on this top of this tower too, he faces this way. And so if you're anywhere here, he will shoot you. And so you gotta be really careful as to how you engage this last rogue, because by going through this route here, you're relatively safe even during the day. And once you kind of like know where he is, I have a rough estimate as to whereabouts he is. I think he's actually over around here or so, behind this tree. But you'll be relatively safe. And so when you do this particular path, if you don't have the northern checkpoint and you need to go back to practice shoreline, etc., you definitely want to go back here because, you know, yeah, there he is. He looks like he's not even on the MG, but there's the MG there. And yeah, during the day, you definitely might need to kill him before you cross this particular path, but during nighttime, you should be fine. And there's the one truck that you need to mark as well. And here's the other fuel tank you need to mark as well if you were, you know, have those tasks still. But yeah, what I do then is I would go this way again. I'll go through this way again. One quick thing you can get to do as well is you can actually kill maybe 1 or 2 more rogues as you come this particular path, so you got to be careful as you were to jump over this fence with the car, because a couple things that I got to look out for is the rogue on top of tower 3 now might be visible to you, that you might be able to have to kill, because if he is wandering, you got to be careful about that, right? But usually this is a free kill here as well on top of this tower. I'm not sure where the rogues went, but usually there's going to be the rogue on this MG here, right, that you can get a free kill off of, and another rogue over there that I should be able to get a kill. And then of course you be careful if the 4 rogues, in this case we're not over, they were over there, so it's okay. But yeah, that's about it. And just hop the fence, go to the car, or go back to the part of the shoreline. Just be careful though, and study the map, right? Because look where the red areas are, because for landmines, right? And just really kind of focus, and just kind of quickly remember, because the last thing you want to do is step on a landmine as you extract, right? But yeah, that's about it. You know, again, if there's any questions, feel free to put it in the comments below. I hope this tutorial was, you know, pretty straightforward. Practice it, obviously, and once you do get the hang of it, you know, it's so easy money. It really is. You can definitely do this during the day as well, but like I said, during the day, you'd have to then be more careful of the other rogues in the actual water treatment area, that they will definitely have more vision on you and basically snipe you from across the map. Like, there are times when I would snipe from over here on the rocks, right, towards these guys, and even though this guy was over here, he was still laser beaming me, right? And this is like over 250 plus 300 meters. So just be careful about that. All right, but yeah, hope you guys are doing well. Again, thanks for watching. If this is definitely what you like to see in the future, you know, let me know as well, and I'll make more tutorials. All right, have a good one. Take care.